All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast here with your host, Richard Fu from richardfu.com. And guys, I have an amazing man on the show here today. He's done so many things. I don't even want to list it out because we could be here for hours if I listed everything that he did. But he's the founder of Like a Mind Reader. He's also a coach at A Well-Designed Life. And most of all, we're going to be talking about something interesting here. And this is something that I relate so much to. And we're going to be talking about pivoting. And that's what excites me to bring him on the show. And so, guys, please welcome Jonathan Pritchard on the show. Jonathan, good to have you on, bro.
Hey, super glad to be on. Thanks for having me, man.
Man, I'm excited. When I looked at your profile, I was like, whoa, like I said before, man, what are we going to talk about in this show? And then you shared something amazing here with your story here. But before we even get into that, I mean, Jonathan, for the people who haven't heard about you or your work before, could you share a bit more about, I guess, how you help people and how you got there?
Yeah, basically my background is for the past decade, I've been a professional mind reader on stage, entertaining people, making them think I can reveal their darkest secrets. It's all a lot of applied psychology and showmanship that I use on stage and in my own business. So the past couple of years, I've started to teach people those same techniques so that they can put them into action in their own life. So that's basically the long and short of it.
Nice, nice. But on top of all of that, Jonathan, you're not only just a mind reader, right? You've done a lot of other things. So, I mean, like you're just a person who's, what did you say before on the show? You've lived many lives before or experienced.
Right. I've crammed a lot of life into my years is usually how I like to say it, because my whole life, I've essentially been self-employed. From the moment I graduated college, I was working for myself, which means I had a lot of free time to learn how to do a lot of fun stuff. So I've been a graphic designer, public speaker coach, just a whole bunch of stuff. Like when I was 13 years old, I learned how to juggle fire. When I was 15, hammering nails up my nose. At 18, eating fire. So basically, I've spent most of my time learning weird skills. Like that's kind of my passion, is learning how to learn things quickly.
Nice, nice. And then to talk us through this, how did you learn how to be a mind reader, right? And is it, like you say, it's a lot of showmanship and, applied psychology, but I want to learn more about how does this actually work and what do you do, man?
Right. Think of it kind of like a magician, right? A magician will do tricks with tigers and that kind of thing, whereas a mentalist does tricks with information. So it's a lot of information management, not letting people know that I know what I do know, or making people think I know things that I don't actually know, and letting them come to, well, the wrong conclusion for showmanship purposes. Right? So mind readers are excellent communicators. It's just that they can communicate lies really well. So think about it kind of like a counterfeit artist. The counterfeit artist actually has to know how to paint even better than most artists who paint for a job. You've got to understand the historical context, what the paints were made out of, and be able to recreate it on your own and then paint in the style of another person, not just your own. So in order to communicate a lie, you have to be really, really good at whatever medium you're working in. So the quality of your relationships, whether it's personal or business, all boil down to how good of a communicator are you. So sharpening your communication skills will help you across the board, no matter what. So as a mind reader and a professional charlatan, it's kind of my job to teach people how to communicate more effectively.
Right. Gotcha. And then, so talk us through this, man. I mean, like, this wasn't what you thought you knew and what you were actually like really awesome at the start, right? I mean, we talked about it off air before, is that you jumped to something else before this, and then you made this slight pivot, and then all of a sudden, things changed. So talk us through this journey, man, that you went through from starting up your first coaching business.
Right. So for the past 10 years, being an entertainer and being on the road so much, and it just kind of got to be a grind. And I kind of missed having a home base. Living on the road 220 days out of the year just was grueling. So that put a lot of pressure on the shows and myself to perform and be happy when I'm out on the road. So it just kind of got frustrating. So I wanted to figure out a way that I could pivot my knowledge and experience in a way that could help other people. Because after shows, people would come up and go, man, you were living the dream. I can't even imagine living how you live.
Yeah.
And I realized those were my first coaching clients. So then as an effort to get away from the mind reading shows, I started my first coaching business, which is a Life Well Designed, which is combining my educational background as a designer and an artist with my experience as a mind reader on stage for entertainment, kind of put those two together and create a Life Well Designed, right? But then for the past 2 and some change years, I've had a Life Well Designed, but it didn't really work all that well. People didn't immediately see how design thinking could help them. And they would think, well, I'm never going to be a designer. I don't want to learn how to be a designer. So this isn't for me. And it just didn't get traction. So then I realized I was leaving behind the most compelling selling point is that I'm a mind reader, right? Everybody, like Oprah, Tony Robbins, like everybody says, I'm not a mind reader and nobody else is, so you've got to communicate. I was like, wait, I am a mind reader. I can do this. So in my coaching and public speaking, I do demonstrations of mentalism and mind reading and then break them apart to illustrate the psychology of designing your life. So now that I focused on the main unique thing that I have, suddenly it's taking off. People are signing up, and kind of my favorite thing is when a client goes, man, you just turned my mind inside out. It's like, yes, that is what I'm going for, helping people see things differently and understand they have infinite resources at their fingertips, but all the resources at your disposal, if you don't know how to use them, are completely useless. But you've got the most incredible tool in the universe, your brain, with the most powerful resource, the internet, right? I mean, put those two together and there's nothing you can't do, basically.
Oh man, I love that, man. I love that. And I love this, man. This is what we've been talking about a lot in my own space at this point in time, is that, you know, we step away so often. And I think this is it, man. This is that, Jonathan, I think you would agree, is that we get sold these dreams or these promises of being a great speaker, being a great entertainer, being a great coach, and all these other things. But then it pulls us away from what our real genius is, what we're really, 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 really good at. And for me, for a long time, I was just in that stage too, man, just like yourself, you know, running a business at the start that didn't work for like 3-4 years. And then finally shifting away from that and then shifting ever so closer to get closer to this, what we call the genius zone. Mm-hmm. And this is what we get to now, is helping business owners stay in their genius zone. And this is what I love about your story, man, is that you found your genius zone was always there, but then you were trying to do it with something else, you know, and then all of a sudden you switch across and then finally everything lines up in the way it's meant to.
Yeah, the two things I would love to touch on. First is the power of narrative. If you keep telling yourself a story, you're going to find reasons it's true, even if it isn't the best story for you. And learning how to unwrite that story you've been writing forever and then create a new narrative that feels authentic to you can be a very difficult process. But the power of your own personal narrative to keep you locked into something that's not working is super powerful and an issue I see a lot of people dealing with. And yeah, it's really difficult. And then the second point is something that completely escapes me. So I know I'll remember it at 4 a.m. That's kind of the problem with being a mind reader. Too many thoughts in too little brain, and they go in multiple directions at the same time. So if I remember it, we'll come back to it. But otherwise, you know what? Mine's not perfect.
Here I'm sitting here thinking, is Jonathan trying to play with mind games with me right now and pretending to show that he doesn't know what he doesn't know, but he does know, and then I'm just like, oh man, I'm so confused right now. I'm not going to play this game.
It's working perfectly. Excellent.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. And so talk us through this. I mean, like, what benefit, like, I mean, it's awesome, right, that you can read minds. That means, you know, hopefully the other person doesn't have to try so hard to communicate, and then you get miscommunicated. But like, how do you get to use this gift in a way that I guess helps more people actually communicate better? Like, what are the things that people need to learn in terms of learning how to communicate better, and so that they, not only that they get their message gets understood, and they understand what's coming in their way? Talk us through this, man. What are some good tips?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is that people are so worried about what other people think about them. And that controls a lot of the choices that they make. And one of the freeing things is to understand how little other people actually think about you. Right? It's incredible how how much people aren't thinking about you. Or even when you think they are, they're not. Right? Everybody is so preoccupied with their own stuff and how they're coming across that they have so little bandwidth available to think about you, that finally you just kind of get free of the judgments of other people and worrying about what they think about you, which frees you up to do what you know you can do and what you're on this planet to be. So really, it boils down to helping people be more who they are. Mm-hmm. And in a business sense, when I do business consulting, it's really helping the entrepreneur understand how their customer is thinking. Right? Because again, it all boils down to communication, which isn't what you say, it's what people hear. So understanding how you can remain congruent in your messaging, right? Brand identity across platforms, that kind of thing, making it easy for people to give you their money, right? Because a lot of times people want you to sign up for a free trial, but then sign up with a credit card first, which means, well, I might forget, or you're going to charge me and I don't pay attention. So I don't trust you yet, right? So it all boils down to helping people read other people's minds and helping them understand what other people are thinking, which is usually not about you. It's all about how you can help them.
Yeah. Interesting, man. Interesting. And so then how did you realize, like, going from entertainer to now consulting and training, let's say training other people how to read minds? I mean, like, what would you do before that, man? I mean, like, when I say this question, I'm like, I don't even know where my mind's trying to take it right now. Is like, if you're a mind reader, I mean, like, what's stopping you from just manipulating everybody? Like, yeah, right, and just everything.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that a lot of the techniques and skills that I have could be used for evil. Right? Just hands down could be applied in not a pleasant way. But just like any tool, that's the case. Fire, you can use it to cook dinner or burn a house down. Right? So it's more about the person using the tool than it is the tool itself. So I like to say that on stage, I will lie my pants off. Right? I will say anything to create the appearance of being able to read minds. But it's as soon as the show's over and people go, "Are you psychic?" I'm like, no, I'm not psychic. I'm using applied psychology to create the appearance of being able to read minds. Right? The great explanation is from a mentor of mine, Banachek. He likes to say, look, if I'm sitting on a park bench with my girlfriend and a pretty girl runs by and I watch her jog by, my girlfriend slaps me in the face, you know what both of us were thinking, but you're not psychic. So it's all about understanding the context and how the person you're communicating with is understanding the message you're trying to communicate.
Gotcha. And I think that's the really big key here, man, especially not just in business, but in general, relationship-wise, is that there's so much miscommunication. There's so many assumptions that fly in and out. And, these assumptions aren't told, right? They're unspoken out loud until it's too late. And then everyone just like hates each other already. Yeah,
exactly. Which one of my super good friends also happens to be my entertainment lawyer. And he always likes to say, everybody's on the same page until there's a disagreement. And that's when contracts are handy. Okay? Yeah. So oftentimes I actually ask a lot of stupid questions, like over clarify points when people are trying to talk with me. And it can feel like it's an interrogation, but I'm always trying to ask questions to understand.
Yes.
When I'm talking, I'm not trying to just wait for my turn to get my point in and talk over the other person. I'm really, truly trying to understand where that other person is coming from and how they see the world. Because as soon as I understand how they see the world, I now know how to communicate in a way that they will understand.
Good.
And that's handy in business and personal relationships, just across the board, right? So if you want to increase your bottom line, well, your marketing could use some polish, right? How are you communicating to strangers who have never heard of you before? Are you talking to them like a customer who's already bought from you? Well, that's two completely different contexts. So you can't use the same messaging for both relationships, right? So you really got to understand what it is you're saying and to whom and how, right? That's everything that I do. So it really boils down to just understanding human psychology. If it involves more than one person, and even if it's just you, your relationships are the most powerful force in your life. Your relationships to your problems, to your own self-esteem, to yourself, your family, your romantic relationships, your business relationships, your relationships with your clients. Like, everything boils down to relationships and making them better.
Man, I love what you're sharing here. And I want to hammer on this is that the point where you said it's all about understanding, and I love it because we're like brothers, dude. Because like I meet someone and I ask these like really like not out there questions, but just questions, and it does feel like it's an interrogation sometimes. Again, I have to pull myself back and say, I got to share a bit about me before they can start opening up. Even funny, and I'm guessing you do this, is you ask like a lot of open-ended questions that really get them to think, right? You're getting them to think and then express it in a way. And sometimes some people are scared of that, right? Sometimes we really can't handle that. And I love that you bring this up because I believe this too, man, is that everything's just all about understanding. If there's miscommunication, it's just me not understanding the other side. And it's because maybe I've shut myself off, or maybe, I just they couldn't communicate in a way that I could understand. Maybe they're speaking a different language, And
Right.
I love what you bring up here because there's this other side of me that says this, and this is what I say to my clients as well, is that, do you find this, man? Do you find that you have to tell yourself, Jonathan, it's okay. You don't have to understand everything right now. You don't have to understand everything right now.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite points of pride. Is being really good at not recognizing what I'm not good at. If I try something and go, oh yeah, I can't see myself putting in a lifetime worth of work on this. I'm not even going to waste another hour on this, right? I like being able to go, you know what? I don't understand this. Help me understand. Right? And deferring to other people's expertise and specialties when I know I don't have experience in it.
And I love that because, especially this is funny because it comes from the mind reader himself saying, look, I can read minds, but I still don't understand this. And I wanted to bring that up because it's so important because so many times myself and people get caught up with trying to have to understand everything. And if I don't understand everything, then I'm not going to make any actions. But as you know, man, in business, and I'm guessing in entertainment as well, is like sometimes you just don't understand why people are laughing at this silly thing that you just did, or why people like you or whatever. It's just, you just go with it, right?
Exactly. Well, in the information age, the internet, we have endless information at our fingertips, knowledge, facts, and figures, but that doesn't automatically translate to understanding. For me, if I can't do something, I don't really understand it. And then if I can't teach it to somebody else, I don't really understand it. So that's why, like with a mind reading trick or a magic trick, people always want to know, okay, just tell me the secret. I say, even if I told you the secret, you wouldn't understand why it works. And until you can perform the trick, you really wouldn't understand it. So unless you've got the next 25 years to spend with me, you still won't understand it. So even knowing the secret, which is a detail or a piece of information, you still aren't getting the experience and knowledge you get from doing it. So that's why action is so important, not just information, because so many people get on information overload. They just spend years consuming information. and using that as a way to procrastinate of ever doing anything. But doing one thing will get you so much farther than reading about 1,000 things.
Yeah, I love that, man. And this is something that I'm always trying to remind myself as well, is that, I was once, the junkie, right? The information junkie is like, yeah, read, Jonathan, I read like 20 books this year or whatever, and I learned this much and I read that. Oh, yeah, I know that book. And it's just like, you know what? After a while, I'm just like, I just want to learn one thing and just go do it, And if that means me missing out on reading all these other books, that's okay. They're still going to be there. And I love that you bring this up, is that, you don't actually understand shit until you actually do it. Right.
Exactly. It's that Bruce Lee quote. I'm not scared of a man that's practiced 10,000 kicks once. Mm-hmm. I'm scared of the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. Like, that guy understands that kick and he's going to get your face with it.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. And so what else can we learn in terms of learning how to read and understand other people better, so that we can, form better relationships, so that we can close more business deals, so that we can have the real, love that we want and not get caught up in all these arguments? What's another tip, man? You talked about, first, don't worry about what other people are thinking, because they're not thinking about you pretty much 99% of the time. And then we also have to, be open to understanding and learning about the other person, which is like kind of like understanding the context rather than what they're saying, which is what you said, right? It's not about what you say, it's what people hear. And so we want to hear the other person. What else could we do, man, to become better at, just understanding people?
Yeah, one of my favorite things is telling people, look, this isn't some gift that I was born with because my grandma had the mojo and it skips a generation and now it's me. This is a skill. It's learnable. It's something you can learn how to do. And the really cool part is you're already pretty darn good at it. Right? Because the real superpower is empathy. Being able to imagine yourself in the context of another person's experience. Right? We're one of the few creatures on this planet who can do that. That is such an abstract level of reasoning and thinking that it is a superpower. And we do it all the time. And the more skilled you get at being empathetic and trying to understand their situation, that is mind reading. That's the main crux of it. Right? So the more empathetic you can be to the person you're communicating with, the more effective you're going to be as a communicator, which means you're going to get more of what you want. You're going to get more of what you need. You're going to have better quality relationships with everybody in your life. And the more empathy you can show yourself in understanding that, you know what, it's okay to be you. Right? You're already there. You're cool. You've evolved to be a social creature. You're all right. So focus on your breathing, and there you go. Right? You don't have to believe everything that you think, and you don't have to use those thoughts as justification for poor choices.
I love it, man. Beautiful words, man. That's huge. Empathy is one of the things I think that gets missed, especially with men, right? There is like, dude, if I come to you like, hey, Jonathan, I'm having a really rough time. You're like, bro, just man up, man. It's all right. It's fine. Just move forward. Don't worry about it.
Right. Exactly. Right. Just don't cry. Just live through it, man.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Just get back up and just go, man. Go find another girl.
It's okay to connect and be where you are. Yeah.
And I love that point that you say that and when you say connect, it's also, I think, connecting with yourself sometimes first, and then letting those feelings run through. So whether they're good, bad, or horrible, just experience it and let it flow through you and let it flow out of you out as well.
Right. So so a lot of times that emotional clamping down of the, I'm not going to deal with this, is really, really helpful in a very stressful, dynamic situation where there's clear and present danger, right? If there's something attacking you, a tiger coming out of the bushes, that is not the right time to, feel through this problem. Right?
Yeah.
you will deal with the feeling of powerlessness when you survive this experience, right? So the clamping down of emotions is actually really helpful for getting you through difficult situations.
Mm-hmm.
So then once you're out of that context, once you're out of that situation, then it's safe to kind of unpack that. But when we have the continual system of denying the masculine energy to deal with those issues, that's when you've got problems, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm bummed out. Just man up, man. Which is a way of telling the person, no, continue not dealing with this. Keep the clamp on it. Keep the lid on it. Never deal with it. And then it bubbles up in as problems in every other area of your life. You just can't not have that happen.
Man, beautifully shared, man. I love it. I love it. And so, Jonathan, man, we got to start wrapping up the show here. And, the first question I want to ask you, man, as we go into this quick fire question round,
Yeah.
is our signature one. It's the time travel moment. It's where if you could go back to any moment in your life and you could tell little Jonathan, as a truck like knocks over something here in the background, if you could tell little Jonathan a piece of advice that you know today, when would you go back to and what would you tell him?
Ooh, I would go back to the year before I graduate college and tell him, you know better, so do better. And he would know what I was talking about. And I think anybody out there listening knows what I'm talking about. When there's that little voice inside that goes, I think this is how it is. And then you shut it up and you go, no, I'm going to do this thing instead. That little quiet voice knows better than you do. So listen to it and then act on that. It's the Shakespeare quote, right? To thine own self be true. That little quiet voice, it speaks very softly, so it requires you paying attention to hear it. But if you ignore it, man, it gets really loud. And every day you ignore it, it gets louder and louder until it's the only thing you can hear, and it destroys your life because you didn't listen to it when it was a whisper.
Wow. Awesome, man. Great advice. Great advice. Next question I have for you, man, is, I'm sure you've read a lot of books. Looks like it on the shelf anyway over there. And so if there's a book that has made a huge impact in your life and you think is a total must read for everyone who's watching and listening here, what book would that be, man?
For me, that book was Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's a book within a book within a book. And every time I read it, I'm a different person. So it's a different book. And it turned my mind inside out, basically, when I read it. And every time I go back, I'm just like, how did I miss this the last time I read it? To me, that really is one of the biggest books in my life. And again, at the heart of it, part of its message is be who you are, man. Like that's it.
Awesome, man. We'll add that into the show notes. And as we wrap up here, man, final question I have for you, Jonathan, is what's it like now to be truly in your genius zone and knowing that you're in your genius zone, that this is who you are, this is what you're really great at. And yeah, how does that feel for you? Because I want other people who haven't found that yet to get an idea of what it's like to get to that point.
Oh, man, it's great. I don't want to rub it in, but basically I wake up feeling awesome, roundhouse kick the day in the face, have a great time, and then have zero problems going to sleep. Like I sleep like the dead. It's amazing. So it's kind of like I eat when I'm hungry, I sleep when I'm tired, and that's a life not a lot of people get to live.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome, dude. Awesome, man. And man, as we wrap up here, man, I want to say thank you for jumping on the show and sharing with us your amazing wisdom here. And what I want to check in here with you is, man, we covered a lot on this show here today, and I wanted to see if there's anything else you want to add in that we didn't get a chance to talk about on the show here today.
Oh, you're right. We did cover a lot of ground, but basically it all boils down to stop your navel gazing, think about how you can help other people, and that's when your life truly lights up.
Beautiful, man. Awesome. Well, Jonathan, man, thanks for jumping on the show, man. If people want to get connected with you and your work, where's the best place they should head to?
It is ridiculously easy to get a hold of me. Just go to likeamindreader.com, and there are a bunch of ways to get connected, but sign up for the email list. Any email that you get from me, if you hit reply, comes straight to me. I read all of them, and if you get an answer, it's from me. So if you want to get in touch with me, it's super easy.
Awesome, man. We'll put that in the show notes as well. And so once again, brother, thank you for jumping on, man. Thank you for confusing the crap out of me with your mind reading skills at the same time. Love it, man. Love it.
It is my absolute pleasure. And thanks for letting me share my passion.
Awesome, guys. And so this wraps up another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast, here today with the mind reader himself, Jonathan Pritchard. And guys, I want you to know this. Jonathan told me this earlier before in the show. He felt this through the ether. He felt this through the videos. He read your mind, and he told me, these guys, Richard, they want to go and share this message out there, and we want that to happen. So he told me this. He told me that you guys knew you're going to go over to iTunes and you're going to rate this show so that we can get his message out there, so that we can get all the other guests' message out there. And so if you love this show, if you had fun on it, I love you to rate it, so that we can get the message out there. 1 star if you think Jonathan was just a little bit on point. 5 stars if it was dead on point and knew what you were thinking. And of course, guys, you can go over to richardfood.com to get all the show notes and all the resources Jonathan has shared here today. And finally, guys, go out there, go live with love and go smash it. And I'll see you again on the next one.